It's late, not the dramatic kind of late, just the hour when the house finally stops answering back. The lights are low because they don't need to be bright anymore. There's a cup on the table I forgot to move earlier. It's cold now. This is usually when my mind loosens its grip on the day, when the noise thins out enough for memory to slip through. Not the loud memories, the small ones, the kind that don't announce themselves. I think about you more like that now, not as a presence, not as an absence either, more like a temperature the room remembers. I used to believe that building things required distance, that focus was a kind of isolation you had to accept if you wanted to make anything real. I didn't frame it as a choice back then. It felt structural, like gravity. You never argued with that belief outright. You just lived beside it, quietly, patient in ways I didn't know how to name at the time. I remember how you'd sit near me without interrupting, not waiting for attention, just sharing space. You'd read, or scroll, or stare at nothing in particular. Sometimes you'd say something small, observational, never urgent. I didn't understand how intentional that was. I thought love announced itself through intensity, through friction, through being unmistakable. What you offered was steadier than that, and I didn't have the language for it yet. There were nights I came back already exhausted, not physically, mentally, the kind of tired that doesn't show until you're alone. You'd ask how my day was, and I'd give you a version that skipped the middle. Thought I was sparing you. What I was really doing was simplifying myself. You noticed. You always noticed. I don't remember a specific moment where things broke. That's the strange part. There was no sharp sound, no obvious failure, just a gradual misalignment, like two clocks in the same room, drifting seconds apart. At first it's nothing. Eventually you can hear it. After you left, the quiet changed. It wasn't empty. It was exposed. There was no one to absorb the overflow anymore, no one to sit with the parts of me that didn't convert cleanly into action. I kept working. Of course I did. Momentum doesn't vanish just because something meaningful ends. If anything, it accelerates. It gives you somewhere to put the feeling. But the night stayed long. That's when I started noticing how much of myself had been oriented toward the future, always slightly ahead of the present moment, as if being fully here was inefficient. You were very good at being here. I think about the way you'd pause before answering questions, not because you didn't know what to say, but because you wanted to say what you meant. I rarely paused like that. I optimized for output. It took losing you to understand that presence isn't passive. It's an active discipline, one I never trained. I don't feel guilty in the way people expect. There's no self-flagellation in this, just clarity. I see now that I loved you with the tools I had, not the ones you needed. And you accepted that longer than you should have. That realization didn't arrive all at once. It came in fragments. A chair left untouched, a sentence I no longer had a reason to say, the way silence stopped feeling shared. Sometimes I catch myself wanting to tell you something small, not important, just something I noticed, a detail you would have appreciated. Then I remember that the impulse itself is the point, not whether it lands anywhere. You taught me that. I used to think love was about alignment of vision. Now I think it's about alignment of attention, who you turn toward when nothing is demanding you do so. I didn't turn fast enough, not because I didn't care, because I didn't know I was supposed to. That's the part I sit with the most, not regret, recognition. You once said that being with me felt like standing next to a powerful engine, warm, impressive, but loud. At the time, I took that as admiration. I hear it differently now. I'm learning how to lower the volume, not for anyone in particular, just because I finally understand what gets lost in the noise. There are moments now, unexpected ones, where I feel grateful instead of sad. Grateful that you didn't force yourself to stay smaller to match my availability. Grateful that you trusted your own sense of loneliness enough to leave. That took courage I didn't see until later. You're not a lesson. You're not a chapter. You're a person who shared time with me honestly. That matters. Sometimes I imagine you somewhere quiet. Not because I think that's where you belong, but because I hope you found the kind of presence you were always offering. I don't reach out. This isn't unfinished business. It's finished in the way real things finish, unevenly, without ceremony. I carry you differently now, not as a weight, not as a wound, more like a reference point. When I slow down enough to notice myself, I hear your influence in the pauses, in the decision to stay with a thought instead of rushing past it, in the understanding that being impressive was never the same as being close. The room is very still now, The cup is still on the table. I'll move it later. For a moment, I just sit here, no agenda, no forward motion, just breathing, just remembering what it feels like to stay,